This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Greeting everybody, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us this afternoon here at Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we're sitting with the elephants in a shade. At least they're in a shade where we're actually backing right out in the sun. And they're all enjoying their best of resting under that. It looks like it's a big tree though. Welcome aboard to your very own safari through the African bush. Good afternoon again, everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, here where it's actually very sunny and humid. We're looking at the elephants, they're even also in a shade. It's so important that they spend a lot of time in a shade, not to go anywhere else. So my name is Andrew on camera. I have Simon as usual. So this is how we're going to be planning to bring you into the wilderness, where these elephants looks like they are. It looks like it's a herd of elephants, I think. And it's actually a big jackalberry tree where they sit underneath of it. Provide a beautiful shade there where they don't really have to move too much. I'm sure they may move just because of they have to feed. And for them to be able to spend a lot of time not to feed, when they're up on the mobile again, they need to focus too much on grabbing whatever they could, because of course there's so much they need a day. The warmer we're at right now, temperature of the day, we're sitting on 37 degrees Celsius, 98 Fahrenheit. So it's humid out here, and we believe we're going to plan on investing a lot of water whole, and then from there see what we'll be drinking later on. And I'm not forgetting that my two lionesses, where they just disappear in front of me, cross one of the drainage line. Maybe later we're going to plan on driving around in that area, see if we locate them again. Hopefully they get mobile when it's cool off. For that, remember to talk to us also, communicate with us using kids questions at WildEarth.tv. Those are the young age, and hashtag WildEarth, also at FC YouTube channel, as well as WildEarth.tv/explorers. And then this is how we're going to be, or you would be interacting with us as we take you through this African bush. I just that they are making quite a lot of noises here. Maybe they're all well spread around here. I'm going to move forward because there seems to be all of these. I just move into further down to the drainage line there. So I'm going to drive parallel the river. Hopefully we get a visual of them again. I might say not easy for everybody, animals, us. This is very hot. So while we're doing this, I'm going to be sending you over to Phinda to say hello to everyone. Damon to say hello to everyone.
From a very hot, well, from an area that's very hot to an area that's threatening to rain. There's a lovely cool breeze blowing. Welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where just out of the lodge we've come across a couple of giraffes browsing and a couple of zebra. My name's Damon, and behind the camera we've got Owen this afternoon, and we're going to be driving around in what we call the southern part of the reserve, quite close to andBeyond Phinda Mountain Lodge. And we're going to be heading in the direction of our airstrip to go and look for some cheetah. But like I said, along the way, there's this group of zebra and then a couple of giraffe that we've found. And they're all slowly starting to move away from the road now. See, there's the zebra moving through the thickets. We were very lucky last night that we had quite a big rainstorm. In fact, it was probably one of the most violent storms I've ever experienced here at andBeyond Phinda. Unfortunately, though, we didn't get as much rain as we did noise. There were lots of thunder, lots of lightning, and not very much sleep because of how vicious the storm was. But I don't know if you can hear now, there's still rumbles of thunder all around us. So we're going to probably stick rather close to the lodge just in case we have to duck for cover. That's absolutely fine though. These southern parts of the reserve now, the clay soil, lots of lush grass that's growing, lots of herbivores moving into the area to feed on that grass, some of the trees flushing with new leaves, and that's why these giraffe are down here. We've been seeing lots of giraffe here in this part of the reserve as of late. And have a look at this bull in front of us now. He's busy using that long tongue of his to feed in amongst that quarry. JC, you're asking how big the giraffe population is here at andBeyond Phinda. JC, we're very lucky in that we've got quite a big population. The exact number escapes me for now. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. But JC, if I had to estimate, it's probably somewhere between about 400 and... yeah, maybe about 400, somewhere around there. Very good sized population. And because they're not territorial, they are quite nomadic across the reserve. They move wherever the best food sources are. And at this time of the year, or at least now, we've been seeing part of the reserve. So look at how he's sticking his head right into the middle of that magic quarry. And it looks like there's some fresh leaves that have come through there that he's busy feeding on. Ooh! No, he's going straight through the quarry, and he's feeding on what looks like a thorny karee, which is a kind of tree that we get down here. It's obviously got some lush new leaves, and that giraffe is feeding there very busily. But a nice start to the afternoon to get to see these giraffe. The zebra have moved off, and it looks like the giraffe are doing the same. So Owen and I are going to continue in search of those cheetah. In the meantime, though, let's go across to Lauren at Djuma.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a sweltering hot Djuma Private Game Reserve. Whew, it's very, very hot, but first things first, my name is Lauren. I have Johan on camera, and I'm doing a Dylan. Dylan taught me very well. Put the car in low range and let it go. Because I'm a rather small person in size, it means I can stand up a little bit. Now, I've just searched high and low for Mr. and Mrs. Wig. No avail. We really believe that Olivia didn't make it, which was heartbreaking for me because I saw her from day one. I was following the journey, I was drawing my journey, and I'm absolutely devastated. But sadly, that's nature. They would have many predators. But I was actually looking for Mr. and Mrs. Wig. They are territorial and they are monogamous. So you would think that they would still be in the same area, but no luck. I imagine they're still around. It's just getting incredibly thick here, either side of the Mulwati. Now, if I was a very hot mammal, I think I would pick the Mulwati, which is why we came here. We thought it's a good place to check for elephants. Andrew's already done us proud there. And it's a really good place to check for leopards as well. Cold air sinks, not that there's really any cold air. Warm air rises. That's a sort of circulation process. So coming to low, dry riverbeds is the perfect place. That was our antenna. There's also lots of shade, and there's a nice breeze running through this riverbed. But sadly, there's no animals. So it's not a win-win situation, but we shall keep trying. Kyla, one hopes there'll be lots of animals at the dam, but I think it's also still too hot for anything to get mobile. Lions and leopards and hyenas, even dogs, they will not be getting up. Even if they're thirsty, this is far too early, far too hot. I give it about another hour before we start. Oh, here we've got a butterfly. Is it going to stay still? Most likely not. I think it's a monarch. Let's just wait to see if it settles. If it settles, that'll be absolutely beautiful. Yes, there you go, Johan, right over there. African monarch butterfly. It could be the diadem, but I need to get a closer look. They have a thing called mimicry. Just at the bottom, you've got it there, the bottom right. There you go. Beautiful, one of the more common species that we do get out here. Now, insects will not be scared of the heat. That's exactly what they need. They don't fare well in overcast, sort of cloudy, rainy weathers. They absolutely thrive in the sunshine. And it's gone. I actually think that could have been... that was a monarch. They look very similar, but the monarch's wings sort of taper downwards, and the diadem, the female at least, taper upwards. That's sort of a small difference between the two of them. I actually think they're about to mate. Oh, this will be very fascinating. I'm going to keep my eye on these lovers, see if they decide they like one another. But for now, we're going to send you across to Damon with the giraffe.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. I know that I said that Owen and I were going to leave these giraffe and these zebra, but we just got a glimpse of this female giraffe now, and unfortunately she's moved a little bit away. She was quite close to us earlier, and what caught my attention was how big and round her belly is. It's really, really, really full, and it's way too full to just been from her eating. She looks like she's quite heavily pregnant, and so hopefully within the next little while we'll get to see her with a little calf. And I think with all of the lush trees that are around here at the moment, there's a good chance that we'll get to see that little one in this area in the not too distant future. See how she's looking at us? Those lovely long eyelashes and those big dark eyes. She's now dipping her head into a thicket there. Amazing to see. I don't know if you were able to get a glimpse of her horns or her ossicones, everybody, on her head. See how thin they were compared to that bull that we were looking at earlier. And also to see how fluffy they are in comparison to the bull's horns or ossicones. It looks like she's feeding in that same thicket as the bull was earlier, but on a different side of the thicket. And she's been moving from the right of the screen towards the left, so from the right to the left, moving into the wind. Miss Sunshine, you're asking what species of giraffe this is? Miss Sunshine, the only species of giraffe that we get in South Africa is known as the South African giraffe. So these are the ones that we've got here at andBeyond Phinda. But as I'm sure you, based on the question that you've asked, Ms. Sunshine, I would imagine that you've heard about the different species or subspecies. There's quite a bit of debate going on about whether there are subspecies or independent or different species across Africa. Oh, look, she's just come out again. She's now changed direction a little bit, moving. That's more or less where that big bull went earlier. She seems to be going in that same direction. And just also, while we're here and while we've lost sight of her, JC, to get back to your question, I quickly went and had a look at our game census our animal count from 2018, and I've been a bit overzealous with my estimate. It's only about 200 giraffe that we have on the reserve, but still 200 giraffe across 28,600 hectares. That's still quite a large number. And we often see big groups of them, and there can be days where we see 10, 11, 12, even up to 15 giraffe in a group. There's some zebras that have just arrived on the right again. That same group we've managed to catch up, or they've caught up to us rather. And they're also busy feeding. Look at that long grass that's all around them there. And see how it's almost a fluorescent green. To my eyes from here, after the rain has washed all the dust off of it, it almost looks like a chartreuse color. It's so bright and vibrant and green. The zebra are just loving it, feeding on all the longer grasses there. have a close look at this one that's closest to us, everyone. I'm just going to ask Owen if you wouldn't mind zooming in onto its shoulder. I'm going to look through my binoculars. Look at that beautiful pattern there. It's almost like the barb of a fishhook. But then see how its body is shaking. It's got like almost like this nervous ripple that flows across its body. This shudder that runs through the zebra. And then the odd little tail flick to get rid of flies. Oh my goodness, Owen, if you can get the camera onto this dead tree behind us, there's a dark morph Jacobin cuckoo that has just landed in the tree behind us. Can you see it there? Well done. Can you see that, everybody? There's a Jacobin cuckoo up in the tree. I'm sure that many of you have seen this bird before. Typically they have a white belly, but every now and then you do get a dark morph. Often with some kinds of birds you get different color morphs. And this is the dark morph Jacobin cuckoo. And I don't think I've seen them or seen this color morph in abundance in as many or in as much abundance as I've seen it here at andBeyond Phinda. That's very exciting, everybody. Super excited we got to show you that dark morph Jacobin cuckoo. And if it's the first time that you've seen it, I'd love to hear from you. But as it flies off, let's head across to Tswalu so that they can say hello.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. Currently we're having a brief view of an African monarch butterfly. Unfortunately it just flew off. My name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we've got Davy.
Hello.
So our plan for this afternoon is to work the eastern part of the reserve in search of some larger mammal species and So our plan for this afternoon is to pretty much work on the eastern side of the reserve. We're following up on a number of waterholes, starting off with Prrivate, and then from there on making our way further south to a waterhole known as Stoffberg. So seeing that it's quite a warm afternoon, and we already have reached temperatures over 27 degrees Celsius, we would expect that most of these animals will most likely go for a little drink.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this. We have our bird of the day, Mr. or Mrs. Woodland Kingfisher. Now it keeps dunking in the water to take a bath. It's a perfect way to keep cool on a day like today. Seek shade, gular flutter, and just regularly dunk your entire body into a water hole. Oh, which tree are you going to land on now? Oh, we've gone right up there. Do you see it? There we go. There was a brown hooded here earlier as well, but the minute the woodland kingfisher arrived, it flew off. The brown hooded is much smaller, so I wonder if it was not too comfortable with this one's presence. You see he's got his beak open just a little bit here. It's far too hot. Now when you see the bright blue of a kingfisher, and when you see the bright blue colour, it's normally due to sort of a phenomenon called tinsel scattering. And that's basically where the structural keratin, because feathers are made of keratin, just like our fingernails and our hair, made up of amino acids. And the way that they're layered, the way that they're structured and interspersed on the bird's body with various different air spaces in between them will reflect light a little bit differently. They'll reflect particular wavelengths of light and it appears blue. They're not actually blue. And this goes for the malachite, the pygmy, the brown hooded, the woodlands, all this, and the striped, all the kingfishers that have blue on them. It's just to do with the way that the sort of structural keratin is built up in different layers within the feathers, and the way that that reflects different wavelengths of light is what we see to our human eye. But technically, there's actually no blue pigment there. The feathers are not blue. This is one very hot bird. Off we go again. Oh, that looks so good. I wish I could do that. In the water, out the water. In the water, out the water. This will go on most of the afternoon. Oh, we're now turning our back to this. Oh, many of you think this is gorgeous. I know. There's just such a large beak for such a small, petite bird. And the beaks within the kingfisher category sort of came about for the adaptation of catching fish, of course. Now, most of them can catch fish, but some of them are just insectivorous generally. But that beak is really straight and sharp as an adaptation to catch fish. And the malachite loves to catch fish, and they normally swallow their fish whole while it's still moving. But they swallow it head first. They're very cautious to make sure they swallow the fish head first, and this ensures that all the fins and the scales are streamlined. They're against the body, so they're not going to choke. If they do it tail first, it's going to cause all the scales to rough up, the fins to rough out, and therefore it could easily choke on the fish. So they're very, very cautious. They make sure they get it right to swallow the fish head first. But the woodlands loves insects. And that's why he's here, to eat up all the insects, to get nice and big and strong, and then impress the ladies. Justin, you're asking, how do kingfishers something? I thought I heard fight, but I don't think that can be right. I will wait until Jarrett repeats. Oh. Just in a normal way that birds fight. The boys are competitive. They're very vocal. They'll do lots of displaying, and sometimes they will get a little bit physical, but just in a normal way that birds do if you see two males interacting. We see it in the Egyptian geese all the time, and lots of open wings, lots of calling, and kingfishers can actually try to jab their beaks into one another, but it's quite rare. They'll avoid that at all. We've got a weaver here. Hello, Weaver. Are you finally coming back to your tree? I have been waiting for this tree to come alive, and it's just not coming alive. Okay, so I'm going to leave this mini little waterhole, see what else I can find. But we're going to send you down to some stripy animals at Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. At the moment, we're watching a small group of plain zebra. So there's a small little one at the back, and we can constantly see that they are quite nervously watching us, and every now and then dropping their heads while they're grazing. So on Tswalu, we actually have two different species of zebra, both the mountain zebra, which is known as a Hartmann's mountain zebra, and the plain zebra. So quite easy to actually separate these two species from one another. As you can notice here with the plain zebra, the stripes of the black and white stripes actually runs underneath the belly. And hopefully we'll be able to find you one of the mountain zebras a little bit later, and you'll be able to notice that they've got a pure white underbelly. Generally, the two different species also have a different choice in habitat. While the mountain zebra prefers the mountainous terrain, as its name implies, mountain zebra, and the plain zebra tends to stick to the open plains area. So one of the advantages that we find with zebras is that they actually have cutting teeth on both the upper and lower jaw, unlike most other herbivores that only has cutting teeth on the upper jaw. Therefore, they can actually feed on much coarser grasses and maintain a better body condition throughout the year. And one of the ways that we can actually look at their body condition is by simply looking at the mane. So one of the first things that do happen when you start losing body condition is quite often you are burning into your fat reserves. And when the fat reserves is depleted, the mane starts flopping. And with all of these individuals, you'll note that the mane is still in an upright position. Something that not a lot of people actually know is that the closest relative to a zebra is actually rhinos. And we find that they all evolved from an ancestor that originally had 5 toes. And as it became more and more advanced, the rhino ended up with 3 toes, and eventually the zebras with a single toe. One of their ancestors actually was one of the largest land mammals to actually ever roam the planet. It was a rhino-like animal that had a shoulder height of approximately 5.5 meters and weighed in roughly at 20,000 kilograms. So one of the defining characteristics of most zebras is that they've got black and white stripes. And the black and white stripes has got a number of functions, which we'll tell you a little bit later on. In the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Marna.
Good afternoon, and welcome to andBeyond Ngala. We are currently in a small Mopane section, and what we've got here for you are 2 Mopane worms. You can see it's quite a large, juicy caterpillar, very brightly coloured. If you look at that one in the back there, you can see nice yellow, white, black, and they've got red on them as well. Can't see that too clearly at the moment. So my name is Marna, and with me on camera is BK. So these caterpillars, I'm going to turn it slightly so we can see it now, so they're busy moving. These caterpillars are actually, it's considered an African delicacy. So in summertime, when these caterpillars are big and juicy like this, people collect them and they will actually eat them. So sometimes they dry them, they take out the inside, so the guts, and they will also cook them with like tomato and onion and garlic. And it's not too bad. They're very high in protein. And yeah, a lot of people, especially in this area, eat these Mopane worms. And they really are beautiful. Look at the fine white hairs on the feet of this one you're looking at on screen now. You can actually see those little red markings on this one as well. And you'll notice that the branch that we are holding here, the leaves are, well, it looks like a little butterfly. So that's a Mopane leaf. Mopane means butterfly. And finding these Mopane worms, you know, sometimes can be quite hard. You don't always spot them. But what you can look for, and I picked some of it up, is the excrement of the Mopane worm. So usually when you see this laying below the trees, then you know there are Mopane worms. And you can look up and you'll often see where they've fed on the leaves, and then you will find them. So not only do humans go crazy for these, but you can imagine animals also really like them. So you'll see a lot of different kinds of birds catching them. Baboons will eat them, all kinds of things. And now these poor worms, you know, they have to go through 4 different molts before they can go onto the ground to pupate, and then eventually they turn into a large moth, one of the emperor moths, also a really beautiful moth. BK said he has had them. He didn't like them too much. Philae, which of the predators love these worms? Well, like I said, birds and really enjoy them. As far as predators go, I haven't really seen any of the predators feeding on them, if you're thinking of like large carnivores. But maybe birds of prey, they would definitely take them. But the birds that I've seen feeding on them the most were hornbills. And what they do is they flick them around. So they catch them in the bills, and then they flip them around and they hit them against a rock or a hard surface, just to also get rid of the guts inside. And then eventually they'll eat them, or they'll swallow them. All right, I think I'm going to go put these guys back in the tree, and we're going to send you back to Lauren.
Oh, Mopane worms are a delicacy in our kitchen here too. I can assure you it is not I that eats them. But apparently when fried, they're very delicious. Now we've got a few elephants on the ground here. The large one on the... Oh no, we're getting up. We just decided to just collapse on the ground. It's been a tough day. You see how difficult it is for them to get up. That is one soggy bottom. There must be a moist mud puddle there, I think. I can't see anything, but I think someone just got scolded. These elephant youngsters can be very naughty. Now, a lot of them have been streaming from their temporal gland. And what actually is it that comes out of their temporal gland? Now, we call it temporin, believe it or not, and it's a sort of really thick, tar-like, oily substance that comes out, and that's why it stains their skin. If you look at this big female here, you can see that it stained their skin. It's not moist, that's old temporin there. And, oh my goodness, we're all going down on the ground. Do you know, I think we can get a little bit closer, Johan, and see actually what they're doing. Must be a mud wallow. There's something quite entertaining about seeing elephants do this. Oh, we're going right over. We're keeling right over. Oh, wow. Wow. We are having the best time over here. That's one of the biggest females here, Big Mama, and you can see that stain on the side of her face. So that's old temporin that she secreted maybe this morning or even last night, and it's just stained her skin because it's so oily, and which doesn't mix with water, of course, and it's very, very thick. Oh. Look at that youngster just putting its trunk over the big one on the other side, Johan, on the left. The one on the right is completely given up. It started to move its head, but it was flat on the ground. The youngsters sometimes take naps. Some interesting interaction there. Viola, no, they can't sweat. They can't sweat at all, which is why they have all these unique specialized adaptations, such as extremely wrinkly skin to hold in water and mud. It's wrinkly on purpose. It's not just the fact that they haven't taken very good care of their skin, or this one just about to walk in front of the car. Johan. It's a big female. She's walking very, very slowly. See that? She's also stained. She's an old cow. But just their ears help them cool down because they cannot sweat. They don't have the sweat glands that we have. And the ears actually constitute 20% of the elephant's surface area, which is why they're so good at what they do. And they have a vascular blood system inside that pumps blood flow. It's normally around 5 to 12 litres per minute, depending on the size of the elephant. So this means that the ears alone give off 75% of the heat loss. 75%, that's 3/4. Then you add the wrinkly skin. They've also got wrinkly skin under the soles of their feet. Then you add the hairs. They've got long, wiry hairs on their body. And this is also believed to help cool them down, believe it or not. Because the hair acts as like a heat conductor, shall we say, and it draws the heat away from the body, so it assists in heat loss. And there was a study done on the sparse hair of African elephants, and it increases heat loss up to 5%. So you've got the 75% from the ears, the 5% from the hairs, that's 80%, and I imagine the skin will help up to about 20%. And that's how they lose heat. They cannot sweat. These elephants are being so ridiculous. And that's why they have evolved these adaptations. This must be the smallest mud wallow in the entire reserve. And yet we have how many elephants inside of it? It really is a tight squeeze. Oh, there's more coming. I'm not sure how the physics of this is going to work. Murphy. I think what you maybe mean are elephants' right or left tusks. They will have a dominant side. Most mammals do, actually. They say that all polar bears are left-handed, but in all seriousness, they will have a dominant side, and therefore you can visibly see what side is more dominant when you look at their tusks. Oh, I can't take anything seriously looking at these elephants right now. And how do you tell? Well, you look for the master tusker. And which one is the master tusker? Well, it's the one that is worn down the most. So maybe not the juveniles, but when you look at the adults, you will always see that one tusk is worn down more than the other. And they call this the master tusk. And whichever side is worn down the most, that is a more dominant side. Because they use it more, is worn down more. And it differs between elephants. So they obviously don't have hands, but they will have a dominant side. And the way to tell is just to look. And it differs right across the board. Maybe some are ambidextrous, I don't actually know. But the tusks will never be the same once you get to an adult. Oh, another one going down, going down. I feel like I should get into bed like that tonight. Very dramatic. Be all dramatic. For such big, cumbersome animals, they just love to lie down sometimes. At least when the ground is cool. It must be very cold over there. And if you think about it, just a few days ago it was cold and rainy and miserable and overcast, and now it's a complete opposite end of the spectrum. It's extortionate heat. Sonia, the adults are just big kids, huh? It's more common to see the youngsters, but adults love it too. It must just feel so good. Imagine having skin that dry, no sweat glands, no hands to scratch or itch or pick off parasites, and you see a big muddy wallow. How could anyone resist? But yes, it's highly entertaining when you see the adults do this. Do you know that you're on camera? I think you do. You've got a little bit of something attached to your face. That was so wonderful. I did not expect that. But we are going to head to Chitwa now and look for more elephants.
Beautiful. So we came this far north into Bablisuk right now, where there is a crocodile in here, Kayamanzi. As you can see, that looks like when we get here was a Egyptian geese that was getting hunted by this croc. So, but now they've moved far. Looks like they're busy moving away from that crocodile there. So crocodile, they hunting methods. They use water, so they go down and slowly getting close to the prey. And it seems to freeze, almost look like nothing when they just pop a little bit of its nostrils up just for a breathe a bit, also to get a sight of the prey species, how far it is. And they go down again, they will really pop out neck close to the prey species. I didn't know there was a crocodile here in this, but it's a big lake anyway. It has to. Wouldn't surprise me that. And remember, they hunt night and day, which in this dam here, quite a lot of catfish as well, and a lot of some other different lizards. There's probably some hippo on the background, so we're probably going to see them when we go around on that dam wall. So hopefully we'll get to see more of a hippo out there.
Welcome back to Tswalu. So we've just taken a short little drive and we located on these ground squirrels that was busy feeding next to the side of a road. And what we do find quite fascinating about them is that they can tolerate an incredible amount of heat. And we hopefully will see it again. When they do go down to feed, they quite often will lift their tails over their back to create shade so that they can feed in the heat for extended periods of time. So quite often what we also notice is that they are very alert and that they will keep looking around to see if there's any potential threats. And we also find that they also quite often will associate with other species such as meerkats and yellow mongoose, and they will also benefit from those species in terms of alarm calls. So the reason why we knew that they were males is obviously obvious if you look underneath the tail. But what we do find interesting is that they actually come forth in separate sex groups of either male squirrels or female squirrels. And we tend to find that when female squirrels are in estrus, these males become quite pesky, but they often will chase them away. And eventually, the most determined of these males will be the fortunate one that gets the opportunity to mate with these females. One of the things that I do find quite fascinating about squirrels is that they immediately will know if there's a strange squirrel within their group. And these males that do enter their groups are often detected by means of scent, because squirrels will quite often anal drag one another, and in that way they share a communal odor and then immediately will pick up on a stranger sneaking into their burrow system. The tail doesn't only just act as a sun protection mechanism, it is also quite often used for deterring predators such as snakes when they are mobbing snakes. And one interesting sighting that I had here at Tswalu a few years ago was where a small group of meerkats located a Cape Cobra. Immediately, the squirrels joined in and mobbing the snake. And what we saw was that the squirrels were actually more aggressively moving towards the snake and at the same time flicking its tail at it while they were alarm calling. Eventually, the squirrels, as well as the meerkats, drove away the snake out of the area and kept on doing what they normally do. PJ, they are definitely bigger than most species of rat. However, there is certain species of rats, like cane rat, which is much larger than that a ground squirrel will be. Also just interesting, if we think of rodents in South Africa, some of the largest rodent species that we do find is actually the Cape porcupine, followed by the spring hare. That is another species of animal that we do find in this area. So these little guys decided that it's time to go into the shade and go and shelter into a burrow. From here, we'll be carrying on a little bit further and see what we can find. But in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Lauren, who is currently enjoying a view of a fish eagle.
The fish eagerly on the ground. What is one doing? I wonder if it was having a little drink. It's positioned itself in a puddle, I think. A very iconic bird of South Africa, but it doesn't make the big three. Not only do you get the big five, you get the little five, you get the big five underwater now, which differs across the world, and you also get the big three, which includes the Faroese eagle, the Marshall eagle, and the African crowned eagle. That's the big three in terms of raptors that you want to see when you go birding. It's debating something, I think. You'll need to go with that one more time, Jared. I don't think so, Claire. It's quite a bizarre question, but I don't believe so. There's not many species. Of course, interbreeding happens, but it really threatens the genetic integrity of any species. I don't believe so. What are you doing? Where's your partner? You have different levels of monogamy out here in birds. It can be a lifetime monogamy, it can be a seasonal monogamy, it can be a very short-term monogamy. And with the fish eagles here, both the male and female, it's a long-term monogamy. They're always here. They've got each other by their side. And it's not just a seasonal monogamy, so you do get some birds that will stay true and loyal to that female for one breeding season. But when they part ways, once summer is over, they'll come back again the next summer, but it will be a different female they will then choose. So it's sort of serial, seasonal monogamy, if you like. But that's not the case for the fish eagles. They seem to like each other well enough to want to stay together for the long term. But the sort of rate of discovery of extra pair copulations in birds is just phenomenal. It's through the roof now, which really throws monogamy out the window, to be perfectly honest. If they're mating with others, then they're not monogamous. Ziggy, most raptors are highly visual, and they have very sharp other senses as well, but they're very visual, and therefore you will find that they're mostly diurnal. And at night time, of course, it's dark, and there's lots of larger terrestrial predators on the ground. So you will find mostly, not all, they are diurnal, which means that they will, of course, roost in the trees at night time. Now, owls can also be classified as raptors because they seize with their talons, and generally speaking, owls are nocturnal, not all, but most, and therefore they will, of course, be more active at night during the day. It depends on the species, but generally speaking, they will roost at night time and not be active. They only forage, fish eagles, only forage for about 10% of their day. The rest of the day they're resting, roosting, drinking. It's only 10% of their day that they actually forage. So seeing this individual not do very much is probably commonplace. It's very curious about the world around it. It's very, very nice to see a fish eagle on the ground for a change. So as I bumble around Chitwa, we're going to send you guys down to Tswalu.
So what we found over here is an ostrich egg, but what we've just looked at in terms of the tracks is that there was a number of baboons that came through this area, and this egg was actually rolled all the way down, and here you can see the track of a baboon. Here it stopped and looked at the egg and then decided that it's going to be too hard for it to open and left the egg and kept on into a southerly direction, most likely following the rest of the troop. Now, for me, ostrich eggs are very interesting. Firstly, they're one of the largest eggs of any bird species at the moment, and we can fit approximately the contents of 24 chicken eggs into a single ostrich egg. However, the largest egg that ever used to be found was that of an elephant bird, which was 3 times the size of that of an ostrich egg. So roughly 72 chicken eggs would be able to fit inside there. The other thing that I find particularly interesting about ostrich eggs is that they actually have unique little paws and patterns which you will find on the shell. And the hen or dominant hen that will, when she's nesting, will actually use these paws to count them and to determine whose eggs they are. The eggs that do belong to her will be put in the center of the nest, while the eggs belonging to lesser or less dominant hens will be put on the outer edge, where they will actually be more vulnerable to predators such as baboons and also species like brown hyena that do love eggs. Historically, we also used to get a vulture species occurring in southern Africa, which is known as an Egyptian vulture, a bird that I've only seen once in South Africa as a rarity. This bird has also evolved a unique trick by using small little stones and pecking away at the side of an ostrich egg until it breaks it and then feeds on the contents of the egg. These eggs were also quite often collected by humans, such as the sun hunter-gatherers, and what they would do is open the one side, then feed on the contents of the egg, and then use these eggs as water reservoirs and strategically hide them along their paths, especially if they know that they are going into areas where there's no water. They would retrieve these on their way back. One of the other fascinating things that I do find about ostrich eggs is the coloration. Unlike the eggs that we saw this morning of the lapwing, which was speckled and was so well camouflaged and hidden within its area where it was nesting, the ostrich egg really stands out. So scientists actually had a look at it and asked, but why doesn't the eggs have a coloration pattern that makes it blend in with the Kalahari sands? The reason is actually very simple. They tried various colorations or added various colorations to the eggs and found if they slightly darkened the egg, the temperature of the egg will increase by 2 degrees Celsius and kill the embryo inside the egg. Therefore, the ostrich had to have a trade-off and leave the eggs white and visible. But on the other side of the end, ostriches are also quite often very protective about their nest and also about their young. And they've also got incredibly keen eyesight. We will notice nicely that the male will sit on the nest during the nighttime, hence the reason that they've got black plumage colors, while the female, that's much duller in color, will sit on the nest during the daytime. Well, we're going to continue from here on. Hopefully we'll see the ostriches, but we can show you the difference. But in the meanwhile, we're linking you to Ngala, where they're busy viewing a very hungry tortoise.
So we've come across a little leopard tortoise feeding on the side of the road here. Looks like he's plucking the leaves of that little shrub there. How incredible is that? Quite a small little leopard tortoise. He looks really hungry. So this is actually part of the small five. I'm sure viewers at home are familiar with the small five. So it's just 5 small animals that have the names of the big 5 in them. So the leopard tortoise, the buffalo weaver, the elephant shrew, the rhinoceros beetle, and the antlion. Oh, sure. I think we just caught him in time. He's finished feeding there now. Moving up to the next bush.
We can maybe talk about yard eggs the next time.
Yard eggs?
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're currently just making our way further along towards the dam that's called Prrivate, and we're in the hope that we might be lucky enough to see the lions in that area again. The same spot as where we located them roughly 2 nights ago. I must say, in terms of which other animals will eat ostrich eggs, as far as I only know, the brown hyena and also the Egyptian vulture, as mentioned earlier, and sometimes baboons I've seen also running off with these. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that humans do love them as well, and so do I. And I can share with you one of my favorite little recipes of an ostrich egg omelette. Fine biltong powder, pepper dews, feta cheese, a little bit of black pepper, and a little bit of garlic. And you've got an absolute winning recipe. Just bring a lot of friends and make sure that they're hungry, because this feeds at least 6 people. Hi, Kevi. Yes, to answer your question, we do, but they're incredibly rare. So in the past, we've managed to actually locate them, and we've actually found 2 that was born over here. And then on my last visit in December, we also had a male that we located at the waterhole at Takuni. So one night we were busy sitting there having dinner with our guest, and I heard a kudu that was busy alarm calling outside at the waterhole in front of the lodge. So I quickly grabbed a torch, had a quick look, and I said to everybody, quick, be very silent, don't make a noise, follow me, and we safely viewed this leopard from the deck while it was busy drinking at the waterhole. To also give you an idea, the Kalahari doesn't have a high proportion of leopard due to low prey density compared to the eastern half of South Africa. We often find that leopards within this area often has ranges of up to 1,000 square kilometers compared to the leopards that we find in areas such as Djuma, which maybe has a 6 to 8 square kilometer territory. We also quite often find that throughout South Africa, a number of areas also hold leopard, and surprisingly the Western Cape is one of those. In that specific area itself, leopards are incredibly small compared to the ones that we find up here, as well as within Kruger. They seldom actually weigh more than 50 kilograms due to the low amount of food, and therefore they don't really reach big sizes compared to a typical savanna leopard, which can possibly reach 109 kilograms and maximum weight for a male. What we've also noticed in areas where leopards do not have any other predators that they have to fear, they actually feed on the ground. Unlike the ones that we do find in areas such as Kruger, where there's a host of different predators that would like to relieve them of their kill, and therefore they take the prey up into the tree. So 100% right. It's the most beautiful that I've actually seen Tswalu in many of the years since I've been working here, and it's definitely the greenest that I've ever seen it. But each of the seasons actually holds its own unique beauty, especially.
Sorry about that. I don't quite know what happened to Tswalu, but they will be right back with us. Now, Andrew had the Nkuhumas this morning, which is very exciting, or at least some of them. I have not seen our Nkuhuma pride in a very long time, and he did lose them. They went straight into the drainage, which makes sense because it was getting hot. And the Talamatis are way back in Buffelshoek, and a lot of the landowners up there. Got a warthog here. Are you guys gonna run? Yes, you are, and you... No, there we go. Oh, look at those cute little bottoms. I think this is the same family that we actually see all the time around Treehouse Dam. It's looking at us. And now we're really off. So yes, all the landowners up in Buffelshoek are very happy, and they're saying the Talamatis are back. They're back home. And the Nkuhumas are with us. So I'm just going to scratch around the water holes in this area. There's lots of little pans, because at some point they're going to get mobile. They're going to be hot and thirsty. So talking of lions, I am going after the Nkuhumas, but I believe Andrew has the Talamatis.
From that side also, horizontal. Great, so here, while we're here, still in Kayamanzi, we thought we were going to be right on the dam wall, but we got a visual of the whole Talamati again. Pride of lions. For now, where we sit at, we count about 12 of them, which I heard that the 4 female that were also seen far of here, east, which I think it's on KNP boundary, Kruger National Park boundary. So I think this is where they've been the whole entire day since this morning. And when I came down here, my idea was just to see if there's going to be a lot of activity in terms of waterbucks, zebras, and wildebeest coming down to drink here. Of course, hippo, as you can hear, our background, still making a lot of noises. It's quite nice again. We get to see the pride, this pride. Yesterday morning, we were following up on that dark man until we lost that signal, and then from there, we're not sure what happened to him. Or he could be around, or we haven't yet found them. So they look like they haven't really get enough feed, which maybe later they will be very much interested on getting to move hunt. We saw impala cross the dam on the far south of here. So it's a good idea for them to be close to the water, but every time they were trying to hunt, it's way too open here. It won't be easy for them until maybe it's dark. This is where they're gonna do their experience of hunting. So it looks also a storm is on its way towards us as well. Thunderstorm. So it's probably gonna hit us. I'm not sure if it's gonna come straight this way, but this cloud is already taking place. Vinny, so yes, the female hunt together. Here we have all 5 adult females and the whole of the youngest, the male and the female, the 3 young male actually, and the whole of the young females, part of the group already here. They will participate on assisting on these females hunting. So everybody here hunt. They already had a skill. They learn from their parents during their lives. So they cooperate hunter. So this is so important. Always we talk about pride of lions. Always when they hunt, they succeed, kill. If they already hunt impalas, they all surround and make sure they approach from the different position all of a sudden. It happens they will come out with the 2 prey species, or maybe 1, but then they're going to share feed on that. Even though it's not going to be enough, where impalas is 60 kg, 55 kg meal, where, well, each lion or lioness would need anything from 13 kilogram, 12 kilograms, so won't have enough for all of them. So yes, they all hunt. Remember, they hunt by sight, also smell. Usually cats, dogs, those carnivores, and they hunt by sense. They say something died way out. From there, they were able to even judge the distance, how far it is. Maybe won't tell what it is, but they can able to tell how far it is if they can make it up there, and you see them make their way across far to reach that area. You know, if it's an elephant or hippo, which coach. So you want to know why do they have a black mouth on their lip? I think you mean that. So I'm not just so sure. Usually those consist of glands, not a proper gland, but there's some kind of a secretion. It's always reached in this pitch, black on their mouth. Could be mean that every time, you know, you find also on a leopard, when they touch trees, they use those one as well. Once it's attached to a leaf or piece of wood, scent left behind. It's kind of a way of communication as well. I think so, on my own opinion. See, some of them are yawning. Well, storm, like I said, it's heading our way, so all we see on the west. So it's very dark. So if it's that the case, then if it is storm heading our way, pretty much, we're gonna make our way close. We're gonna wake around close where we can get a hold of the roof immediately if it's rained properly. Where Kaimanzi is actually one of the
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still currently making our way to one of the water holes, and meanwhile, not a lot going on with it being incredibly hot. We find that the temperature is just sort of putting a little bit of a damper on the game viewing for this afternoon. But let's go and see what we can go and find at the water hole. We almost at our water hole, just a few more minutes, but in the meanwhile we're going to hand you over to Lauren and Djuma.
We have a seal, hyena, that goes by the name June. Doing exactly what I want to do right now. I wonder if she'd mind if I join her. June, do you mind? She looks so relaxed. And we're very close to the den. I haven't gone to the den yet today because it's far too hot. I went this morning, but I haven't been this afternoon. Johan and I can't decide if we're... That is thunder. We've been having a debate. Is it thunder? Is it very... Can you hear that? I'm not sure if you'll all be able to hear it, but it's thunder. The weather is confusing me greatly. Okay, that's one mystery solved, Johan. Wow, I don't think we're not worried about it, but it's definitely thunder. So June's clearly relaxing, and this is good news because it's actually June that I want to see at the den. I want to see her little youngster come out, get a better look at it, get a better sort of age estimation, and just spend some time with them. So we're very, very close to the den and some of the mud wallows. Hello. She looks very relaxed. It must feel so fabulous just to lie in cold water. It really must. Gregor, you're asking how old is June? Well, she was born in 2015, so that will make June probably over 5 now, approaching 6. She's very much in her prime, and when I first met June, she really didn't look like this. She's changed a lot physically since the matriarchal takeover, where Ribbon decided things had to change. That's when her ear got damaged, which it makes her very easy to identify now. She always was quite easy, but That floppy ear makes it very easy, and her physical condition's never been as strong as it was when I first met June. So she's coming up for 6 years old, but we don't quite know her birthday. And in November 2019, she had a litter, and that was Sutu and Swana. Swana didn't make it, I'm afraid, but we do still see Sutu. But June was actually the daughter of Scarback, and Scarback was one of our iconic older hyenas. I never got the pleasure of meeting her, but she was quite iconic. And that was June's mother. It's getting really, really cool now. I can feel the shift in the atmosphere, and I'm not complaining. So I wonder if that means the den will be more active sooner rather than later. It's not going to be active in the sweltering temperatures. They're going to be inside that termite mound with nice air circulation, ventilation, a wonderful odour, I'm sure. Now, I've seen everyone interact with Ribbon now, but I'm still just not entirely sure what's happening with June and Corky. They're definitely both lower rankers now. I'm just not sure who's at the very bottom. But they both spend time at the den and they both interact with Ribbon. I just can't make up my mind who is the lowest, who is at the bottom of the pile. June did not fare well in the matriarchal takeover, but Hart did. It put Hart in quite a good position. It put Tima in a good position, of course, as Ribbon's daughter. It's definitely not a bad thing when your mother becomes the matriarch. In fact, it's a fabulous thing. Wow, I can't believe this thunder. Maybe we need a storm to break the intense heat we've been suffering from today. Okay, I think we may leave June for now, do a little bit of a loop around here, and then we will come back at some point and check the den.
WildEarth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special WildEarth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes WildEarth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a WildEarth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Moritz, and I come to you live every day from Tswalu Kalahari here in South Africa. My favorite thing is probably the predators. And as you can see, we're looking at some of them right now. These are the kings of the Kalahari. Spending time with the cats, it's just a privilege. And I love their behavior, you know, the more that you look at them, just the power and the sheer beauty and elegance of them.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a WildEarth Explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
Hello, boy.
You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy.
Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We just located on a small group of red hartebeest. So we're very amazed by the fact that they haven't run off you. Normally these animals will, as soon as you approach them, will run off, stop and stare from a distance. Now while they are on screen, if you note at the shape of the horns, they do have a heart shape, and then the coloration of the coat is what gives it the red, and hence the name red hartebeest. They're very closely related to species such as wildebeest. What I do find particularly interesting about this whole little group of wildebeest and their related species, such as Sabi and hartebeest, is that all their young is born in an advanced state where they can stand in almost 5 minutes and keep on following within almost 45 minutes. Another strategy that they have quite often is when they are chased by predators and where the parents know that the calf won't be able to keep up with the rest of the herd, the calf will deliberately drop down into the grass, and the parents will keep on running and distracting the predator away from the calf, and later come back for the calf in the hope that it's been overseen by the predator. With most of the other antelope species, they actually have young that we refer to as lying out young, compared to the Sabi and hartebeest and wildebeest, which has follower young. And what we do find with the species that have young that does lie out is that the young is actually born scentless, that the female will return to it on a regular basis to provide it with food, but also to make sure that it's not producing any waste product. And what she will normally do is lick the anal region and stimulate it to defecate and urinate, and then consume that predators cannot detect that calf. What we also find is with calves that have lying out behavior is that they've got fairly short gestation periods, but very long periods that they have to lie up, compared to species which has follower young, which has generally got a longer gestation period, so that they are ready to enter the world. Islandy, you're 100% correct. They do look similar in Topi. And I'm speaking under correction. And if I remember correctly, that the word Topi is just another name that is used for them in East Africa. Hi Jenna, to answer your question, historically it would have been possible, just like that wildebeest would most likely was also a migratory species. I would assume that they are migratory and would respond to local outbreaks of rain, maybe in the distance, or thunder, and be attracted to those areas because they would know that they could get better quality food in those areas. And it probably makes sense that they were migratory at one point, because why else would they have follower young? So what we find is that quite a few species of antelope actually have become sedentary, where they no longer migrate. One of those species were also springbok, which have large migrations along the western half of South Africa. We're just going to... It is a very interesting set of horns. It almost reminds me of a time trial bicycle or a Harley Davidson if I do look at them in the distance. And that is one of the ways that I easily remembered how to separate them from a similar looking Tswalu when I started guiding. We're just going to reposition and see if we can get a better view of them. So it seems that they're slowly making their way towards water, and we just hope that they are going to make their way over here. So we're almost at our waterhole, and in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Lauren.
Now, this might not look like much. We're on Ingwe Alley, and since there's no Ingwes, I wanted to point something out to you. Now, this is a termite mound, and it's a very small one. It's really not that fabulous or elaborate as the other ones we see. But look, Johan's going to get you closer, and what you will see is that this, I'm not going to touch it because I think it's still quite fragile. There's a colour tone, it's two-tone. The lighter stuff is very dry, it's old, I can touch this, but the darker stuff is the new art. Oh, there the soldiers are coming out. No, it's the workers. Oh, they are here. Okay, this is very exciting. All the darker part is the new construction that has just been done in 2 days. I was on this road 2 days ago, and I can assure you all of this wet patch was not present. So if you just look nice and closely here, you'll see it's all been done. It's so fine. Every little bit of sand. They've used spit, their own saliva, soil, and any little bits of debris that they can find. And the workers have constructed this, not the soldiers, not the kings, and not the queens. So from 2 days ago, when I last saw it, they've waited for the rains, and this is why the rains is so important for termites, and they've started to rebuild their mound. And with the next rains, they'll do it again, and this will go the whole length of summer. But this might not sustain. This looks quite fragile at the minute. If I was to do this, which I will not do, it will most likely collapse. And therefore, they've got a lot of building to do before it becomes a mound this size. This will only last for the summer, but I can see them starting to get active here. I'm not sure if you'll get them from here, Johan, but let's try. We may as well try. There's little workers coming out. Little white ants, the termites. I am going to jump back on the vehicle, but we'll see if Johan can get them from there. And it's just absolutely incredible how they're able to start building new structure like that as soon as the rains come. And what I'm thinking about doing is monitoring this. You can actually do 3D models, and I won't bore you. You can use a program. Did you manage to get them, Johan? You did? Fabulous. You can get a computer program. I used to 3D model corals. What you do is you just take lots and lots of photos from specific angles, and you mark them and whatnot, and then you put them into this program, and it creates a model for you. And with coral grows in a 3D sort of non-linear way. It grows out, but it also grows up. So therefore, to just measure it with a ruler or some calipers is not really going to work. So you 3D model it. And over the years, you can look at the models and see exactly how this coral, depending on the species, is taking shape. I think we can do the same with the mound. We can maybe 3D model it. Let's get closer. And just over the years, I may not be here, but it can continue on, and we can actually see how big and what shape this termite mound takes. I'm going to do that. After this segment, we're going to go back, and I'm going to start taking photos. Down. Kim, I don't really think there's a limit. The termites are just down here, Johan. To the right. I think you've gone a little bit too close. There they are, up here at the top of the frame. You see them? That's the workers getting busy, right in there, in the centre. That's the workers. I don't think there's a limit, to be honest. I know that some of the termite mounds in South America and the Amazon can be seen from outer space, can be seen from satellites. They are that large. Humongous structures. Now, the termite mounds in the low veld get much... Sorry about that, that was rather loud. I know that the termite mounds in the low veld get much, much larger than the termite mounds in Tswalu, for example. So it's very dependent on the species of termites, the area that you're in, and the sort of environmental conditions, what resources are available. It will depend. But normally they say on average, are we able to get any closer, Johan? That the size of a football, an American football, So it's all very complicated when it comes to football / soccer / American football. The size of an American football can take up to 7 years. It sort of gives you an indication of how slow it is. They're minuscule little insects building grain by grain by grain. And although it's not the clearest views, in the centre you can see the workers, those little white ants, and they're doing construction work. I don't quite know exactly what they're doing, but they're building on the mound. Can you imagine, even if there's 1,000 of them, how long that'll take? They don't have a leader, they don't have a boss, they don't have a blueprint, they don't have a sort of architectural drawing to show them what to do. They're just communicating, and they're just doing it all for the collective, together. There's no individualism in this colony. I think it's going to be really fascinating, at least for the next month or so, to keep taking a photo of this mound. That's my new project. So I'm going to jump off and start taking photos, and you're going to pop over to JP.
Yeah. Welcome back to Tswalu. We just located on a small group of wattle starlings which is having an absolute fun time. It's just reminded me of the elephant sighting, and I wondered if they are having as much fun as the wattle starlings are at the moment. So these wattle starlings are basically cooling themselves, and at the same time they're also loosening old pruning oil that's on the feather, and most likely they will go and clean and get rid of that old pruning oil and realign their feathers with new pruning oil once they've completed their bathing session. So a number of other bird species also have a number of other tactics how they can clean as well as remove old pruning oil. Some of them will deliberately be standing in the sun, opening their feathers so that the sun can loosen the old oil, as well as kill harmful bacteria and parasites that might have formed on the feathers. While other species will actually quite often go and dust bathe to get rid of old oil. So quite often when we do see wattle starlings, they do form quite large groups. And for most of the year, they're absent from these areas where we are guiding in. And they normally will only return once there's been sufficient rain, and then normally do so in large numbers and breed within those areas. Once the food resources has been depleted, they normally leave after that, as short after that period. Another unique way that you can clean your feathers as well as get rid of parasites . Hi Haley, to answer your question, most birds will actually do this to get rid of excess pruning oil and soften it. There's only a small number of birds that don't have preening glands, and one of these are birds that we refer to as bustards that we often find, which the Corrie bustard is probably the most well known. These actually have a very interesting powder-like substance from the feathers when the feathers break down, which helps them to keep the feathers in a good preen condition. After 2 days of rain, I'm also still surprised about how green it can be, or how green it is at the moment. And as mentioned earlier, I'm really surprised to see the Kalahari in such a green condition. I've seen it in total opposites, where it actually only looks like a dust bowl with almost no grass or vegetation even on the dunes. We're just going to spend a little bit more time around this waterhole, but in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Phinda, where they're currently viewing Giraffe.
Sorry about that, everyone. I'm just having a good listen to the game drive radio here. I believe Phinda have vanished, but they will be back soon. Roller, what on earth were you doing on the road? But yes, sorry, I'm just catching some updates. Now, it looks like there's rain ahead after all. After that sunny afternoon, I think rain, but it seems to be moving south, so that's fine. I'm not worried about it this now, but what it does mean, because it's getting colder, there's another roller. Colder and darker, animals will be moving. So I'm just wanting to scratch around and see if we can see any signs of the Nkuhumas. And then I will... Sorry, something just caught my attention there. Hold on. And then I will go to the hyena den. I think it's gone away. Something just moved in the bark of that marula tree. So yes, I'm looking for signs of any sort of movement from the Nkuhumas. It's a perfect time for lions to get mobile. And Treehouse Dam to our left is the closest dam. So that's my plan for now. Just need to make sure no one's walked on this road. Samantha, you're asking, have I ever seen a leucistic hyena? No, I have not. I have never seen one personally, or lightning. Oh, did you see that, Joanne? It's not anywhere near us, but there was definitely forked lightning there. No, I haven't seen a leucistic hyena. Now, leucism is different from being an albino, what we term an albino. Albino is no pigment whatsoever in skin, hair, eyes, feathers. I used to have an albino rabbit. He was a Californian buck. We bought him at this size, and he grew to this size, and he had a very intimate relationship with his ball, but that's another story for a different time. And he was an albino. So even although we lived in Scotland, or we still do, the sun obviously has very powerful rays when it does decide to pop his head out. So we had to protect him a lot from the sunshine, because he had no pigment whatsoever, no melanin in his skin. Now, leucism is a lack of pigment or a loss of pigment, but there's still melanin there. So it's not... A leucistic animal will not look the same as an albino. There will be similarities, but they will not look the same. And we see leucistic elephants here, especially young ones, but I've never seen a leucistic hyena, I must say. I'm going to Google that, though. Everyone, get on Google. And the opposite of being leucistic, when you're more white, is melanistic, when you've got far too much melanin, and your color or your hair or your skin or everything becomes black in the animal kingdom. Okay, so I'm going to really focus on looking for the Nkuhumas now, and we're going to send you guys back down to Phinda.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. as I was saying earlier, it's been a little while. We've been struggling with rain and having to take cover every now and then. Owen and I have managed to find a Wahlberg's eagle. And what's quite interesting is, listen carefully, can you hear the fork-tailed drongos calling in the background? That metallic clicking sound. There, that sound. And it looks like there's a pair of them that are busily flying around this eagle, and they're mobbing it. They're flying down and trying to pick it. They're trying to intimidate it, to drive it away from this area. And I don't know if any of you have seen this before with fork-tailed drongos and large birds of prey. They can be quite aggressive towards large birds of prey, and quite fearless even. Now, we've often seen them flying at a rapid rate after a much bigger bird of prey, pecking it and dive bombing it and harassing it, trying to chase it away from where they are possibly nesting. Now, this Wahlberg's eagle, Sham, the poor thing, is just sitting there innocently, no doubt just looking for a place to take it easy for the night, to roost. I think it will probably fly from here. I don't think that's going to be a particularly good spot for it to roost. It's quite close to the ground, and that tree is quite flimsy. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to take off just now and maybe go back towards the tree in which it and its mate no doubt have a nest at this time of year. There's a drongo. You see the drongo flying down and mobbing the eagle. Now where the eagle's sitting, it's almost like it's positioned itself strategically. It's got a bit of cover. There's all those sticks around its head, and it's almost hampering the drongo from getting to it. I think if those sticks weren't there and the eagle were on a more open perch, it would get a bit of a worse mobbing. Drake, you're saying that drongos are so amazingly brave. Drake, they certainly appear to be. I mean, that's a much bigger bird than the drongo is. And I mean, you'd think that if that Wahlberg's eagle wanted to and it managed to get its talons around that drongo, that it would make very short work of the drongo. Now, eagle's flying. Eagle's flying. Drongos weren't interested. Just glad to see it go, it seems. Happy that it's out of their territory. And there's quite a few birds that have now landed almost exactly on the spot where that eagle was. A couple of dark-capped bulbuls that are flitting around in the top of that tree. It looks like a turkey berry from here. I can still hear the drongos calling. And the odd somber green bull giving its kind of liquidy whistle as well. And in the distance there's a purple-crested turako that's also calling. Amazing how, now we're just chatting now about how the rain has just brought out, as soon as it stopped raining, the number of bird calls just suddenly went crazy. We just suddenly started hearing a whole bunch of different birds calling. It was as if all of them suddenly just wanted to start singing. And frogs as well, even driving through the grassy patches, the grassy areas. We've been hearing Phinda rain frogs calling. I tried to find one for you all earlier, but it's not that easy to try and find a frog in a very dense clump of grass. As soon as you try to get anywhere near to where the frog is calling, it keeps quiet. And how thick the grass was where it was, definitely not an easy feat, but I gave it a go. I did try. The eagles moved off, and the other birds have also dispersed from here. We did try to find any sign of that cheetah around the airstrip, and unfortunately didn't have any luck. So we're going to head over towards the far eastern side of the reserve to see if we can have find anything really. Let's go across to Djuma though in the meantime to go see what Lauren's up to.
I am also looking for any animals I can. Now, This is a tree. A cluster leaf, I think. Or what used to be. It's definitely dead, and it's blocking my path here. Now, the reason I wanted to show it, because this is a destruction that elephants cause. They are essentially destructive feeders. But the reality is that they're bioengineers. And what they're doing is remarkable for the ecosystem. So although it's blocking my pathway right now, basically fallen trees provide browse at ground level for smaller herbivores. So all the leaves that used to be on this tree that were not accessible for small animals are now then accessible. So that's sort of providing nutrition to those smaller herbivores that don't normally have access to them. It also creates a micro-habitat for not only survival, not only shelter, but breeding for various different ground creatures, rodents, reptiles, mammals, you name it. Especially when the grass grows around the trees, it creates an even sort of richer micro-habitat for many different organisms. Not only that, one of the most important fundamental processes in ecology is the recycling of nutrients. And I mention this when I talk about termites. There's lots of organisms that help recycle nutrients. But when it comes to fallen over trees, the nutrients from the trees are also biodegrading and soaking back into the soil through decay, and that's helping to put the nutrients back into the soil. Keep the soil nice and rich, and that's basically the cycle of the nutrients, the circle of life. And I guess any trees that have fruit on them, once that tree gets knocked over, the fruit will then be available on the ground for animals that wouldn't normally get access. So when you say bioengineers, they're keystone species, and elephants are actually influencing healthy functionings of ecosystems. They're the driving force and the architects of the low-veld ecosystem out here. You've got lots of architects. Termites are also architects, but they're more architects of the soil. Elephants are working the trees. So when they push them over like this, it looks very destructive to us, and I'm going to have to drive around it here. It's fundamental. As keystone species, they need to do this for the survival of the ecosystem.
Let's give him a thumbs down. Welcome back to andBeyond, Phinda. We've just come around a corner and spotted two Ngala bulls that are now unfortunately making their way rapidly away from the road. There he goes. Look at that white mane along the ridge of his back. And see how he's heading into some pretty dense thickets there from the grassy patch that he's been on. He's no doubt been feeding out here on the grass for a little while, often late in the evenings, in this part of the reserve that is dominated by clearings interspersed with thickets. These Ngala will often come out into the clearings to feed on low-growing forbs, herbs, and even the new grass before retiring the area. Ngala with their camouflage, their big ears, and I suppose arguably being a bit less agile and nimble than something like an impala, relying more on moving through thickets, relying more on cover to escape from potential danger. But unfortunately, now that Ngala has moved off, we're going to continue as well. So Owen and I are going to carry on to go see what else we can find. Let's go across to Tswalu to see what they're up to.
We've been sitting around the waterhole now for quite a while, and unfortunately none of the animals that we were hoping would come and drink has come and visited yet. So we started taking a little bit of a walk around and to see what has happened here in the last few hours. And we came upon this lion tracks that we have over here. Now, we roughly aged these tracks from 2 nights ago, the night that the lions did bring down a small little prey animal quite close by to where we are now. So what I would like to do is to actually share a few pointers with you on tracking to make your next tracking exercise in the bush a little bit more easier. So our first principle of tracking, which we're always going to look at, is to get the direction and the light right, which is the two most important of the principles of tracking. So when we try and determine direction, we look at what direction that either sand has been flicked up or which the toes are pointing. In this case, we have the lion's tracks been clearly marking in the sand over here. Here's a back pad, and here's the toes, of which 4 is going to mark. So quite often when you do confuse hyena and lion, one of the pointers that you can look for is that lions actually have 3 distinct lobes at the back. Also a characteristic that separates it from dogs. What we'll also notice is that there's no nail marks present in the track, which you will always find with hyena. Now, the next important thing to look at when it comes to tracking is to also just sometimes step back and to look at the big picture. And you'll start noticing if there's more individuals that has been present, or you'll notice if there's any other signs that can potentially indicate that there was another species or other species that was involved in this specific movement of these animals. So to come back also, when we do look at tracks, we categorize them into 3 broad groups. Plantigrade tracks, which is very similar to a human track, or like baboon, where the animal will walk on the whole foot. Then the digit-grade track that we have here of a lion, which is a padded foot that allows for very silent walking and stalking. And quite often when we do follow lions and predators, you'll actually notice that they put their hind foot precisely where they put the front foot to avoid making a noise. Then the third category of tracks, which we have, is those of antelopes, zebras, and buffalo and giraffe, which we refer to as unguli-grade tracks, which is a hoof track that's often split into 2 or to 1 or 3 equal parts, depending if it's an odd-toed or even-toed ungulate. Some of the other details that we can also determine by looking at these tracks is if we look at the front foot, that it's got a slightly slanted axis, which is typical of lioness. What we can also see with lionesses is that their toes are generally more longer or slender in appearance compared to that of a male that has a much larger track, generally a far more straighter edge to the back pad and much more rounded toes. Now, occasionally there's, like everything else in nature, there's always exceptions to the rule, and you do sometimes find that lions will leave a claw mark or nail mark in their track, and that's generally when it's very deep mud or just as if the animal is about to attack a prey animal. There's a number of animals that has identical tracks, which is actually very difficult to separate in the field. Those are monitor lizards, and for me also the black-backed jackal and the side-striped jackal. Where the 2 of these species overlap, I cannot separate the tracks of these 2 jackals. However, some claim that if you look at the impression of a track, it actually leaves a deeper impression with side-striped jackal. However, I've not been able to see that for myself. As that the animal is quite a little bit heavier, that is the reasoning why they say that it might leave a little bit of a deeper impression. And then also most of the mice and rodents are almost impossible to separate from one another. So when we do tracking assessments where they test our knowledge on tracks, we just generally refer to it as a mirror track when they ask us. Then certain species of birds as well.
Great, everyone. So we now have left that Pride of Lions and then decided to work slowly westwards from there. As you can see, the weather actually it's changing quite quick, where it's lightning, heavy lightning coming from the west. And then all of the heat that was taking place is when we begin the drive. It's all now started to cool off. No wind yet, but the cloud is actually developing up. Where you see on the west, and that's where the sun usually sets. But the minute you see all of the golden sky and then all of the dark cloud right above that, is that, you know, all of the thunder, it's pushing too much. Either it's going to come towards our direction or avoid us slightly to the west part of the reserve. But if it's ever a wind blows north, because we normally receive rain from, or when the wind blows from the south to the north, that's our rain fall usually begin from that area. So now we're going to be working slowly in this area, but, you know, still remember that the two lionesses, they haven't actually been found, the one that disappeared in the morning. So I have two guides that they're working in the area, and then that is slightly close to home immediately. I think it's going to be about dropping and sort of things like that, and we can make it to the covered immediately just before we get everything wet up. So this is the plan for right now. But leopard is still on we're still on a process of looking for leopards, which everybody's looking for leopards since it hasn't been in a sighting around here. So hopefully we get luck.
That whole curtain there.
We're not having much luck positioning for it, I'm afraid. We've got a tiny juvenile scorpion, and I don't know quite how to do this. That's also not going to work. We just need a little bit of time to try and see if we can position for it. The camera's at such an angle and it's down a burrow. This is not going to work, Johan, is it? He's going to try. Are you going to try? Okay, there's a deep burrow here. It's very freshly dug. I'm not entirely sure who dug it. And inside there is a gorgeous juvenile scorpion. But unfortunately, our positioning of the camera is not going to allow for it, I'm afraid. Alrighty, mission aborted. How unfortunate. It's tiny. We got really lucky with the scorpion the other day, but not today. Okay, for now, we're going to send you guys across to Ngala.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, where we are currently sitting and looking at the moon. It's not dark yet, but Vicky has zoomed in quite closely there. And right below it, we've got another surprise for you. We have found the Birmingham Pride. You can hear Hyena calling in the distance there at the moment. See the whole Pride passed out in the clearing here. As we arrive, they just all emerge from the bushes. I'm just to our right here. And even though this is a really lovely scene, we have actually positioned ourselves in the wrong place because we are downwind from them. So as they came out of the bushes, they all decided to go for a little bathroom break in front of us here. So from a sensory point of view, it's not the best experience for us here, but it is very nice to look at. There's the young white female. And there's also a hooded vulture with them. Now, if you've watched the show before, you know that these hooded vultures often follow these predators, especially lions, and they'll feed on the scat. So, as I said, a lot of these lions did defecate when they came out of the bushes, and this hooded vulture was jumping around and trying to see if he could get a snack. Definitely doesn't sound appealing to me, but that's what he's after. We can hear some thunder in the background as well. It really is beautiful seeing them in the open like this with the green grass around them. Johnny's asking if these lions have eaten recently. Johnny, yes, they, as far as I know, yesterday they had a young wildebeest, or let's say sub-adult. They finished that carcass very quickly, but when we left them they had full bellies and they didn't move very far from where we found them yesterday. Maybe about, I'd say, 400-500 meters further east. So, yeah, they and the previous day they actually caught a young zebra. So for the last 2 days they've been feeding. I don't know if they caught something last night. It's tough to say. Maybe they caught something small again, and they finished it before we got to them, which is very possible. But not a very energy efficient way of hunting. You know, like as you can see, they're quite lazy. They're only active for about 5 hours of the day, and that's usually at night. So if they go for something big, you know, they can all feed for at least a day or two. But if they keep catching these smaller creatures like the young wildebeest and the young zebra, then they have to keep hunting every day. But, you know, that's what's available. And they are opportunists, so whatever comes their way, they'll take. You see both Ross males are here as well, so you can see the one's just on his back here in front of us, and then his brother between him and the pride. You can just see his back foot, back leg sticking up there above the grass. It's quite a nice spot for them because there is also a nice little breeze, so it's good for them to be out in the open here. Not amongst the long grass, so fewer insects bothering them, even though you can see the flies are bugging them. And see the tails flicking and the ears flicking. Every now and again you'll see one lifting its head and snapping at the flies as well. I don't know if you can hear that hyena in the distance there. Here's the young white female again. The fact that she's yawning like this might mean that she's going to get up. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Dad, I missed that question. Could you repeat it? Okay, so Jerome's asking if I would consider the Ross males a successful coalition. Jerome, I would. I think these guys got lucky with this pride, and they're actually in control of this Birmingham pride as well as the Birmingham breakaway pride, which is also quite a large pride. I mean, they're definitely not the biggest male lions I've seen, but they're quite feisty. So I'd say they're pretty successful. They've been in control of this pride for around 3 years now, and they've fathered quite a few cubs with this Birmingham pride and the Birmingham breakaway pride. So I would consider them successful. Let's see if he greets his brother there. He just scraped past him with that back leg, eh? Normally they'd give them a bit of a head rub just to say hi. You can actually see the difference in the manes when you're looking at the males now from the back. So the one on the right, you can see it's got a much lighter mane compared to the one on the left. And the one on the left is slightly taller. He's slightly bigger compared to his brother. And in my opinion, slightly more dominant as well. So when there has been one female in estrus, that one usually wins the fight. All right, we're going to send you over back to Djuma.
All right, everyone, so we now have a young bull elephant here. Still looks like he's trying his lucky. It looks like he's going to push this marula tree. But he's actually shaking it, which is usually when I do that, it's that marula fruit which usually fall down after they shake the tree like that. Push forth, back. In that way, the marula fruits fall off. But I'm not sure, because it's not actually season for those marula fruits to ripe right now. So we've seen him go up, trying to reach the very top branch. There was more than one elephant, which is another one, actually move away from us already. They're probably happy with the weather is changing, so they would actually do their movement quite easy in this area. Well, it looks like it's a young bull, so it's probably maybe more of a male around in this area, because that's what they do. The whole bachelor group get around. Sometimes, two or one. It's actually quite a lot comfortable for them when they separate like that. As long as they know they can still communicate and they know where their other partner is. But for their own benefit, it's good because they don't have to push one another in case of feeding, when they all bull are together. More likely, the strong one will push the small one away from a very, very good grazing area, where then the young one has to move off because of being pushed off. So here, what we see, it's so great. So I'm gonna move forward. So I'm gonna send you over to Phinda again with the lioness.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. What a stroke of luck. Another vehicle was driving in the area and they heard some monkeys' alarm calling. So we came over in their direction. They found this young lioness who's now lying in the middle of the road. wide-eyed and super alert. Look at how her ears are pricked up. And she's looking off to the right. Oh, now at us. Oh, look at how beautiful her face is. Still quite a young lioness. Looking at her face, her body, and even just her size. She's not very big, and she's got relatively few scars on her body. Oh, she's getting up. Still quite spotty. Her legs, her shoulders. She's coming right towards us, everybody. So just sit nice and still, and she'll just come right past. Going around the back of the vehicle. That was quite cool. We're just going to let her move a little bit further away from us before we turn around and try and follow her to see where she's going. What a stroke of luck, we got her just in time. And I think now with it getting so dark, it looks like she's maybe on the move, going to go look for something to try and hunt. Let's turn ourselves around. Tyler, you're asking if I know which pride this lioness is from. Just looking at her markings, she looks like she's one of the sub-adult lionesses. The pride we know as the mountain pride. And she's going... We're going to try and stick with her. Okay, we're going to try and keep up with her and see where she goes.
Incredible interactions at the hyena den. We've got June, who ran to Ribbon, ran to her. So much excitement. She came to the den, she saw that the other hyenas were here, and they're all just having a lovely time. We've got Sutu right in front of us. June's other daughter, Sutu, who I've not seen in quite some time, with a huge full belly and an extended pseudo penis. She's very excited, and June, I hope, is going to get her little one. Wow, the thunder's quite something. Maybe that's not Sutu, I'm pretty sure. I actually don't think that was Sutu. Sorry, I've completely got that wrong. I don't know who that other hyena is. I got that wrong. And it was June that was chasing that other youngster away, not Ribbon. It was June that was acting dominant. Wow, June's got her tail up, acting extremely dominant and aggressive. Maybe it was one of the males. Maybe it was Fika. I need some of your help, ID experts. #WildEarth. It definitely is not Sutu, sorry, and I was mistaken. But June's acting incredibly dominant, tail up, and pushing the smaller hyena out. Wow, it wasn't Ribbon. Ribbon's just chill. Fascinating. Okay, we're going to sit here a little bit longer, hoping to see the cub, but we're going to send you over to Ngala at Ngala.
Welcome back, guys. So we have got an incredible scene here. Some elephants just moved into the sighting. We've got a young lioness in front of us, and in the background it is raining, and we've actually been sitting and watching the thunder in the distance there. If you look at that herd, you'll see there's a large elephant in front, or the largest elephant in that little herd. She's in front, so that's probably the matriarch leading him. Look at that scene. And we just need another flash of lightning in the background. And nothing can beat that. You can also hear the thunder in the distance. Oh, look at that. Interesting how these elephants just kind of snuck up on us again from the back. This lioness noticed them and she just put her head down. Elephants looked at her and they just kept going. I'm sure you all heard that one. That was really loud. Looks like that rain is moving in our direction. Hope you packed your poncho, BK. She's just looking back at this lioness. That was the larger elephant that was in front. Painticle, it's really, really spectacular. Like, I can't get over it. We're in the right spot this evening. And off to our right, you know, it's like it changes into these pastel colors. Let's see if BK can get that for you as well. Look at that. These clouds are incredible. But it's definitely, you know, where we started now, it's definitely raining in the distance there. You can just see that big dark curtain of rain that's moving in our direction from the mountains. But it's so beautiful to watch it from a distance and to listen to the thunder and watch the lightning. Interesting that this lioness is just off by herself here. You know, the rest of the pride's behind us. And she's just facing the opposite direction. Maybe she also likes the lightning. We've actually been looking for elephants for the last 2 days. With little luck. The reserve is so thick at the moment, so we've been seeing signs of them, but we haven't been finding them, and now they found us. Oof, big yawn. Let's see, maybe she's going to get up and rejoin the rest of the pride. That is spectacular. So the tortoises were right. I was saying earlier how just before rain you see tortoises coming out, and we saw that earlier. Let's just listen to the sounds and watch the sky for a bit. Right, I think we're gonna stay here for a little longer and just enjoy the rest of the scene.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide and most importantly the questions that you ask give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
So I apologize, everyone. I think it is Sutu. Sorry, I had a brain meltdown, which happens a lot, but that's okay. I think it is Sutu. She just got very big. She's so fluffy. Immediately you can tell that it's a sub-adult. Immediately. If you look at her sort of compared to Ribbon, if we can just zoom in there, Johan, the two of them. Oh, that's the cub. Where's Sutu gone? But anyway, it was Sutu. I apologize. I completely gave you the wrong information. And that was fascinating, the interaction we had there with June and our very own daughter. There we go. There she is. She's so big now. Now, she's still welcome at the den, clearly, but that was a very dominant interaction. And of course, just like Swazi, she just wants to play. And Ribbon allowed her to behave like that also. June's nervous here. She must be suckling. Nope, she's getting up, Johan. Annalise, you're asking why are hyenas considered the bravest animal? I've never actually heard that term, but they absolutely are brave. They don't... Oh, so come back to your question, Annalise. So precious. She's nervous though, I don't quite know why. But yes, they are very brave in that they just walk into situations. They walk right up to leopards and steal their food. They walk right past lions. They chase off vultures. What's going on here? Everybody's on high alert. Oh, sorry, not Ribbon. She's not on high alert. June is so full. They're all very full. Can I just explain to you what happened there? That was a tantrum. Ribbon got up there to move, and that was a tantrum. If you heard that vocalizations loud and clear, that was exactly what that was. Okay, June, go back and get your baby. Look at that tummy, my goodness. What on earth have you got in there? I'm not sure I want to know. You know exactly where all the leopards are, don't you? But hyenas are just generally brave. They walk into our camp. They just really don't show fear. And Corky's daughter just wants to kiss everyone. No, that's not your milk. Wrong, Mama. I think I can see the cub's head popping out, but we're losing light, which is so unfortunate. I wish it would just come out to cuddle under Mum's tummy. It's so cute. It's still young. It's still really, really not sure of coming out of that mound. Your mommy's here and your big sister. Oh, your... Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh. That's the first look we've got at it properly, everyone. The little black bear that is in fact a hyena and not a black bear at all. It sees us for the first time, that's for sure. It's still very, very young. Do you remember when Corky's daughter was this small? Do you remember when Ribbon's pair were this small? The genital was flaccid as well. We need to get a good look at that if it appears. It's very young to tell, but still, screenshots are always helpful at this stage. Wasn't that just so wonderful? I'm definitely going to stay here a little bit longer, but you guys are going to head down to Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. For the moment, we're just sitting at one of the water holes in the south of the reserve. There's not much going on due to the heat, but what we're doing is just enjoying a little bit of shade, seeing that it's been an incredibly warm day, and also probably the reason why we haven't seen many animals since then. But in the meanwhile, we're also enjoying the sounds of some frogs that are busy calling at this little pan. And I would like to just be quiet for a short little while and point out the little bubbling casino that's making this beautiful bubbling call. And then I'll tell you a little bit more about why frogs make a different number of calls. So one of the first reasons why frogs call is calls that are specifically being made by males, and those are there to attract females. So what they will do, just like the cicadas that we discussed earlier, some individuals will also sneak up closer to these more dominant calling males and intercept the females that that come to mate with these stronger males. The second reason why frogs make calls is also for distress. And quite often you will hear distress calls being made by frogs, especially when a frog has been caught by a brown water snake. The third reason why they produce calls is actually to terminate mating. So quite often when a female is finished with producing eggs, it's time for the male to finish, and she simply tells him, hey, it's time to get off. There's another reason why they also have a call, and there's also a release call that's produced by males. Quite often when frogs do mate, they do go into a frenzy while mating, and accidentally males will mount males. And simply what they're saying is, hey, get off me, I'm a dude. We're just going to sit here a little.
The cubs out, and Sutu's here. Wow, everybody's coming to see the cubs. Sorry about Tswalu, I don't quite know what happened, but it's good you're back with us. The cub seems to be really meeting everybody right now. Including us. Hello. This is a big blur of spots. Not quite sure where to look. Sutu's very, very interested. Sutu, I think you're a little bit too old for that now. Amazing interactions. Look, the cub is coming back out. You're getting brave, little one. A little bit too brave. Go back inside. She just wants to come out and see Mom, but there's another big adult here. Ugh. June's getting protective. David, what a great name. Yes, Hyena chit chat. If only we could understand. Look at June blocking the stain, pushing Sutu away. See that? Oh no, we're getting so brave. I can't believe this. And look at the other little munchkins are coming along to see what's going on. The cub's still out. I can't believe it. It's getting braver and braver by the day. It is the bravest animal after all. this meeting, everyone has obviously already met the cubs inside the den, but it's really coming out to see what life is like outside this termite mound. Quickly over to Ngala.
Alright, so we are just following a lioness that is busy chasing a herd of wildebeest. There are quite a few youngsters amongst them. You can see the wildebeest in front of us here. No, she's given up. She's given up. I think by the time she started chasing, they'd already seen her. Let's just see if there's a gap through here. She goes. She's still walking towards them. She's adamant. Her herd heading off. So the wind has picked up quite a bit. So, you know, if this pride of lions, if they're smart tonight and they use the wind to their advantage, they could definitely catch something. There are lots of wildebeest in this area, as well as zebra. So we'll see what happens. I don't know where she's gone now. We're behind this bush. So let's just see. I don't think she's gonna be able to. Oh, there she is. I don't think she's gonna be able to catch anything just yet. She's probably gonna have to wait for the cover of darkness. That's when she'll have the advantage. And I'm sure the rest of the pride would want to know as well. She just headed off by herself. Maybe she didn't have as much as the rest yesterday. And she's also calling. Let's just see. Earlier we heard her doing that as well, and she's making soft contact calls. And the only members missing from the pride is that female that's denning, and then that other young lioness with the two 9-month-old cubs, and the male that she made long ago. There you go, calling again. And this is the lioness that was facing in the opposite direction. Not with the pride. All right, I'm going to turn around. We'll see if we can get a better view of her on the other side. All right, we're going to stay in this area for a bit, maybe head back to the rest of the pride, just to see what unfolds here.
What an exciting drive. It is unbelievable here. Sutu is meeting her little half-sister. June got a bit protective and started pushing Sutu out the way, not aggressively. Just like this. Come on, leave. And June... That's Ribbon's boys again. And June picked her cub up by the nape of the neck and shoved it in the den. As if to say, go back in, little one, enough is enough. But Sutu's now met her little brother or sister. What an exhausting night for June. I feel you, girl. Well, that's the cub officially made its entrance. I'm sure every day that we come here now, this cub is going to be leaping further and further away, taking on adventures. I knew because we spotted June in that mud wallow, she was going to come tonight. That's Ngwazi and Shimbulu complaining at their mother. don't know why you're asking that question, but believe it or not, they do fit in the den. You would think not. They're huge. But yes, they do. It must be much sort of larger and accessible than we think. Remember last year I watched Plonk. I sat live and I said, no way is Plonk going to fit into this den. He was running amok between the 3 Philemon's dens. And I said, no, he's not going to be able to fit in. And dive bomb, he went into the den and disappeared. So I think inside there's a lot of sort of reconstruction that's gone on to allow room for the bigger hyenas. I think they dig a lot when they're in there. There's obviously an entrance hole and an exit hole. And yes, they still fit in. But they're still clearly very demanding of Mum. Where are you going, June? Huh? Sutu's coming back to investigate. June's going to protect. It's not that Sutu would harm the cub. It's just she's getting very excited. Hyenas sometimes struggle with, I'm using this word loosely, but their emotions. They get very, very excited about things. And all the sniffing and licking, and it could just be a little bit too much. The cub could end up getting injured by accident. And that's exactly why June has just been very protective over this little one at this minute. I just can't believe how much Sutu's grown. We don't see her much. I think the last time I saw her was at a carcass with Klalamba. Or should I say she was waiting at the bottom of a tree while Klalamba was up the tree with a carcass. Wow. This is one of the interactions that I've been waiting on, and it's very, very amicable. It's very neutral between June and Ribbon. There was no aggression, or Ribbon didn't exert any sort of dominance over June. She can do if she feels she needs to remind everyone of her status. But in this situation, she didn't. It was just excitement to see one another. I think it's getting very dark. Do we need to go into IR or not just yet? Johan says we're good for now, but probably the next time you see us, we will be in infrared, and we're going to send you guys across to Andrew with some elephants.
Great, so we're back here at the Gari Dam right now. And this is another different herd of elephants. Looks like a herd of elephants has been everywhere today. And then it's a surprise that sometimes it's in a time where you need them. They're around, and there are quite a lot of herds in the area. But when they decided to move off, and they're off, and they're gone somewhere else. So it's good that, we got them now drinking. It probably happened that it's the same timing group of those we've seen back there. But also there's one of a young one in this group that is still very young. That see, it's moving between their mother. This is why they're so protective. And they're so protective because the herd all take care of their young one, raise them up. And then it gets very dark, and that's where they're very careful about making sure that no other approach around them. And they have a greater sense of smell as well. Our sight a bit poor, but sense of smell and the hearing, it's phenomenal. So if they ever smell anything strange in terms of a danger around or a human, of course the behavior changes very quickly. And you'll see that behavior, they're just gonna trumpet around, run around, and that for sure they will be rising their heads up, trying to understand what is happening in the area. And these young ones, they're more likely to get around in the middle of the herd when that happens. So great. That looks like it's probably what a wildebeest on the far end. I'm not sure if it's a wildebeest. Maybe it's also a water buck coming in from the other side. So this is actually best time for everybody to drink. But the antelopes, they don't have to drink this time of year. It's already late for them. If they fail to drink just before dark, and then for the antelope, it's not safe.
Right, so that lioness has moved off just behind us, but we got stuck on the sunset. I mean, it just keeps getting better and better. Just look at the skies. I think I've taken about 1 million pictures. And then there's the lightning in amongst this. PK just said it's a good time to be alive, you know. We get to witness this. And we get to share it with you guys at home. You just hear the wildebeest alarm calling in the distance. This female's still lurking around. That is just too beautiful for words. Some comments coming in and everyone's saying this is very beautiful. I agree. We're also quite overwhelmed at this stage. This is really misremembered. We still have the lions like just off to the side here. There's one female chasing around the wildebeest. And this is the backdrop. The bush is full of surprises today. All right, I think we're going to quickly loop back to see what they're up to. We're going to send you off to someone else.
Great, cool. So our elephants have gone now. So all the beauty of the sunset that you can see already, sunset is already gone, but all their golden cloud that they're all taking places. That's what now it's all about. So this is actually completely beautiful of the sunset ever. So we're going to take this silent of a minute of a silent here. cool. So we're gonna move on. And now we're gonna be working with a spotlight, and then we're gonna be heading back to those position of the lionesses from this morning. You know, hopefully we pick them up with a spotlight. So let's hope we get them started to move for us, just to get to enjoy them.
Lots of interesting interactions here. The lightning's also flickering behind, and andBeyond's on the scene. andBeyond came up to June, lots of warm, lovely interactions, and lots of vocalizations, and June just accepted it. So that's June starting to let the rest of the clan meet the little one. And once again, no one would harm the little one. It's just excitement. They're all so much bigger. They've got the jaws of death. They've got one of the most powerful bites in the animal kingdom, at least in the mammal world. And, you know, a little nip by accident... Oh, you see the light, man? A little nip by accident could seriously injure the cub, even although it's not intentional. Wow, that lightning isn't crazy. It's far off, though, don't worry. If it does reach us, we will power down. We are a lightning magnet with our big antenna. What a scene. So andBeyond, for those of you who have never really spent much time with her, she's Swazi's twin sister, and they look very, very similar. Actually, I think they look very similar. And it's Pretty's daughter. Same age as Tswalu, of course. It would be slightly worrying if they were twins and they were different ages. And she will not leave the clan. Tswalu might disperse, but andBeyond will not. She's a female, so she'll stay with the clan. And they were both born in September 2008, so they're well over 2 years old now. There she goes again, look. It's a little bit X-rated andBeyond. My goodness, she's just very excited by the smells and the sounds, and there's a new cub and she's learning the scent of the cub, recognizing that it's June's cub, gathering all the information, all the knowledge about her own clan. A clan that she's going to need to fit into the hierarchy at some point. Where will she fit in? Like a storm? I attempted it, at least. Not entirely sure I got it correct. But on like a scone. That could possibly be the correct one. No, they will only feed off their own mother. No allo suckling takes place in hyenas, but they will allow others to come and sniff and, you know, have a little lick here and there, as hyenas do, but not suckle. And there has been incidents where really, really low rankers, especially in bigger clans, they will just accept the high rankers' cubs to suckle from them if they're being so demanding. So sometimes they're just bullied into allowing it and they just let it happen to keep the peace. But general rule of thumb, no, they don't. And going back to andBeyond, Pretty was high ranked. Pretty was said to be number 2 under Corky, and they had a very, very close friendship. So not only did Corky fall... Oh, our IR light's just gone off. Apologies. We're having a little bit of trouble with it. So not only did Corky fall from grace, Pretty also passed away. So it was sort of the most dominant 2 in the clan are no more. And Pretty was Madam's daughter, and Madam was the matriarch. So it was quite surprising that Pretty didn't go to end up becoming the matriarch, but she was still very, very high ranked in a good position in the clan. So Ndebele comes from a high-ranked mother, but she's no longer alive. So I think it'd be really, really interesting to see where she fits into the hierarchy once she gets older. She's still too young at the minute. Wow, look at that. Our IR light's not working, but you can still see the flashes of lightning. Okay, we're gonna stay here just a little bit longer if we can get our light to work. We're going to send you guys across to Tswalu.
Welcome back to Tswalu. At the moment we're just driving slightly further north, seeing if we can locate on any other animal activity. With the heat today, it seems as if it's been incredibly quiet, and we hopefully very soon the sun is also going to drop behind the Coronaberg. Just like to try and also get a little bit of elevation. We hopefully can just get that little picture in of the sun disappearing behind the mountains. Sunsets are almost some of the most spectacular sunsets that I've experienced is in the Kalahari. And this is something about the flatness of the earth, the Coronaberg, and also the red soil that just enhances the beauty of this whole sunset. At different times of the year, it also has different hues in terms of coloration, sometimes from deep oranges and reds, sometimes to almost a purple coloration on the horizon. Panda, to answer your question with regards to why does it seem flat, it's not really so flat as that it appears. We've got dunes that are on average roughly 10 to 20 meters high. We've also got mountains, but because you can't see one crest from the next crest of a dune, the landscape actually does appear to be flat. Also because there's almost no man-made structures or other structures that break the skyline, it also further enhances that feeling of an incredibly flat landscape. That's it. Yes. Hi Daniel, to answer your question about why the soil is so red, this is possibly soils or rock that was formed after that the Earth's atmosphere developed, and that in combination with iron in the soil allowed for oxidation. We quite often find that certain soil types that developed before that the Earth actually did develop an atmosphere has no red coloration to it and no oxidation that took place in it. To give you viewers an impression about how far these red sands actually stretch. And from here we'll be handing over to Andrew.
Great everyone, so we have left the waterhole now, We're going back to the places where we lost two lionesses moving into the thicket. And then as we're working around with the spotlight, we probably got lucky sometimes. If they're ever around where we're shining, all we see is an eye reflect back. And all animals, actually, their eyes reflect, but for carnivores or these predators, they reflect differently then. And we know exactly it's going to be one of those, even if it's a small predators like maybe sable or caracal, which those are actually very rare to see out there, but they're out here. And then from there we're able to tell are those one or it's one of the nocturnal animal out there. So it's going to be very interesting because where they have moved in and the other guys also have went into the area, beginning of the drive, and they started to work around, got back to that inside of the drainage line where I attempted this morning to go in and failed to find them. So maybe they have actually walked across that drainage line like I was saying this morning. Maybe they have walked across and vanished into the other side of that wood. If it's not the case, then they might maybe either get mobile now. I'm not sure which direction. If they ever get mobile, which this is actually very good now. The temperature is down and the wind is picking up. So it's going to depend. If the wind is going to be blowing to the east, which means then they're going to head to the west. If the wind is blowing too much to the north, then they're going to head to the south. Then, so while we do this, we're going to be taking you back to Tswalu.
Well, it's quite amazing to sit on the opposite side of South Africa, so far west, while Andrew is currently sitting in the eastern half of South Africa. And already he's using his spotlight. And the sun is only just about to set below the horizon. At the moment, I'm just going to leave the screen on and we're going to be quiet. It's just such a beautiful sunset, combined with the beautiful inflorescence in the grasses and the Coronaberg that forms backdrop. It's actually creating such an impressive sunset. And you're 100% right, it does look like the opening scene of a movie. And as I mentioned earlier, there's few places on the planet which provide such beautiful sunsets as the Kalahari does. As a guide, I always try and encourage guests to get out very early in the morning before the sunrise, and just before we head back to camp at night from an afternoon drive, I always encourage guests to stop for a sundowner. There's nothing more beautiful than enjoying a sunset with a cocktail in their hands And we are so fortunate being able to see sunrises and sunsets like this every day. There's many places where I've been overseas where you just never simply see the sun rising or setting because of the landscape or because of how built up those countries are. So I do consider myself incredibly fortunate. And as South Africans, we should also consider ourselves so fortunate that we have the opportunity to see sunrises and sunsets like this. We're going to sit here for a few more minutes and just enjoy the sunset. And then meanwhile, we're handing you over to Lauren, who is still enjoying the hyenas.
The interactions here are just incredible. And this is why you sit at the dens. Hyenas are so fascinating. You can learn so much by just watching their interactions. Oh, well, you know, their greeting ceremonies, very intimate, very bizarre. But in the world of hyenas, it makes sense to them. You've got matriarch ribbon here, you've got Ngwazi Shimbulu, you've just got one of the ribbon's boys, you've got Heart's pair, Ndebele, and ribbon's still at the den. I mean June, why am I getting so confused right now? Wild Sun, June. Oh, there's eyes behind June. Can you see that? I can see two eyes on the right-hand side of June's head reflecting back at us. I'm not sure what it is. Is it a frog? I think it's a frog. They're getting active now. It's dark. The sun's gone down. It's cool. It's time to go be a hyena. You will sometimes find males at the den. We've seen lots of males around here. Comet's the most common one that I start to see. Saka I haven't seen in a while, which is, well, rather sad. He's one of my favourite males to see. Swazi is a sub... No, he's actually not a sub-adult anymore, is he? But he's a youngster, and he's always around here. But some of the other males that are maybe a little bit lower on the sort of male food chain, on the male hierarchy, they will just literally meet up with the hyenas at night time and just spend their days also sleeping, seeking shade, hiding in the vegetation, not really doing so much. And then when the females do get active, normally they will sort of patrol together to pick up scents, and they'll vocalize, and that's exactly how they find one another, through vocalizations. And the males will join the females. But sometimes they just stay away from the dens. The dens are dramatic, too many girls. Ndebele just can't believe it. She can't believe there's another youngster. That'll be you soon, girl. I think slowly but surely they're all starting to leave. This is the time they will be active. This is the time they will patrol and walk great distances. And I think all cubs went back in the den just like that. They know how to navigate their landscape in the darkness. It's not scary to them. They don't need spotlights and lights on the car. Oh my goodness, June, you are so disgustingly full. Oh, what do you do? Do you follow Mom or do you stay? I think we're going to stay. That's a good idea. Can you hear it? You don't think we're brave enough, are we? Are we brave enough? No. I think June may have feasted on a hot air balloon. Hyenas, you never fail to entertain us. I don't know who this adult is that just came on the scene. On the left. I'm wondering if it's very difficult to tell in infrared for me. If any of you are... Oh no! Our infrared light has just gone out. We'll try and get it back. Give us 10 seconds. Oh dear, we will do our very, very best to get that back for you. But for now, we're going to send you across to Ngala.
Welcome back. So we looped back around to where those lions were, and they were still fast asleep. So we do. And now we are looking for other nocturnal creatures. So in this area, we're hoping to find some owls, potentially some bush babies. It's quite a thick area. And normally you'll see these bush babies jumping around in the branches of the trees. Lots of insects around at the moment, so that's what they'll be eating, as well as tree gum. And then there are quite a few different kinds of owls out here. So we're hoping to see if we can find them. From the tiniest little scops owl to the large rose eagle owls. So with the spotlight, I would pick up the reflection of the eye of the nocturnal creatures. So that's what I'm looking for whilst scanning through the bush like this. And there are lots of other little creatures that we can look for as well, like genets or civets. Most of the large cats are active now. The lions and the leopards are more active at night. Hyenas could be lurking around. Jasmine is asking if I have a favorite insect. That is a very tough question, Jasmine. I really like insects. Sure. I'm gonna have to think about that one. Well, one that I recently actually posted about was an assassin bug. Now, I don't know if you've heard of these bugs. Now, the larvae of the assassin bugs, they collect like the corpses of their carcass, or let's say their prey, and they stack it onto their back and then blend in and camouflage. And they'll go raid ants' nests like that. I once took a little video of one of them with so many ant corpses on its back. It's quite a fascinating thing to see. But yeah, there are so many insects out here, like it's hard to choose one. I really like moths as well. So many spiders out at the moment. If you tuned in last night, you probably saw the little green pea spider that we had. He was catching little alates, and there was also a nice big beetle in his web. Oh, we've seen quite a few of them tonight as well. This time of year, the insects are everywhere. Also, one that a lot of people love is the dung beetle. We've seen a lot of dung beetles around.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. WildEarth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, WildEarth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. WildEarth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Look at the wonderful dramatic scenes with the lightning at the Hyena den. It's really quite spectacular, and it seems to have done a U-turn and left us out in the middle. It's gone right around us in the shape of a U, and luckily the storm is not above us, but I don't know what we're in store for tonight. It's quieting down now. Ribbon's left. Sutu's left. June's most likely fallen asleep. And some of the cubs have gone back inside. It's so wonderful to get a look at June's little one. That's now 6 cubs for the Djuma clan, all different ages, different mothers. And I do speculate Ntima will be next. I really, really cannot wait to see that one. And that will ensure Ribbon's army, her 2 boys, her daughter and her daughter's offspring, her grandchildren, will make her in a very strong position in this clan. She's already in the strongest position. AJB is a long process. So you can see Ngwazi and Shimbulu. Oh, hello everyone. They were born, well, we spotted them on March 27th. So they're almost sort of 9 months, give or take. Oh, Cub's popping his head out. Give or take. And they're still very much den bound, but it's not going to be long until we see them starting to follow mum. Starting to just venture out a little bit further now. They're a lot bigger. They need to learn the big... Why is everyone covered in mud? Everyone keeps returning to the den covered in mud. To get bigger and stronger and learn a little bit more about the world than just a den. Heart is here. After all, it was Heart earlier. Oh, hello. Why are you all at my vehicle? Everyone's at the vehicle. I'll move. You'll see a bum there. And the belly. And the cabos. So yes, it's a slow process. So start venturing out with mum. They'll start sort of maybe joining carcasses. Oh, the stink bugs are out. But also, this will be a communal den for a very, very long time. And they will still utilize the den for a long time. Once they get too big for the den, sorry, our infrared light has just gone out, they will still continue to come here and use it. But patrolling, they will only, you see, Indabele is now... two years and a few months, and she's very much independent now. She's very much roaming and moving around and is not restricted to the den. So things start to change around 18 months. Normally at 18 months you'll really start to see them leaving the den. Oh, what a fantastic interaction at the Hyena Den. This is what I have been waiting for a very long time. What a fantastic try. This is Shimbulu. Look at his back leg. He's still limping. But I must say, everyone, thank you for jumping on board. Thank you for your support, having fun with us, asking us questions, and please do join us tomorrow morning as we shall all be out taking you on another adventure. Good night.
Program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. We are just watching this glorious sunrise across the landscape here in the low veld at Djuma Private Game Reserve. Listening to the chorus of the birds, and the sun has given us a little bit of an indication, the essence of what the day stores ahead. It's already quite high in the sky, so the ambient light, well, it's very, very bright. And it's wonderful to just sit and listen and see if you can pick up on